Hey, y'all. Hey, welcome to the PowerWomen podcast.
This is the show where powerful women share their journeys, discuss powerful issues, and the men and women who help us rise.
And we are your hosts with three very different backgrounds and very different perspectives. I'm Brandy Jo Newman.
I'm Gayatri Agnew.
And I'm your power mom, Claire Brown. Hey, y'all. Hey, we're here with Nikki today. Nikki, I'm going to let you say your full name so that I don't butcher it because, that's the last thing I want to do. But I also want you to do your own introduction because I don't want you to leave anything out because I know there's more to it than probably what I even know. And so tell everybody, who is Nikki? What does she do? Where did she come from? What does she give to the world these days?
Oh boy, that's a multiple questions.
I
Question.
know.
I know.
Isn't it
So
great?
good. So interrupt me at any time.
Okay.
Who am I? What do I do? Those are two different questions, right?
Yeah.
Who am I? So, I really feel I am a conduit for deep transformation.
Yeah.
And that is something that has been innate in me since I could remember. It was, even as a little kid, it's a wise soul. This is a wise old soul right here. And through my 20s and 30s, I was, was that person that people would come to. And I just would be able to, channel just like this wisdom. And it's awesome when I realized that that was innately me. And this is before any certifications and anything that I did with this. But then I went and learned and strengthened that innate power of who I am. And I am purposeful. I really am. And I love what I get to do with it, which is teach others how to do this. I'm a big fan of having my own transformations, doing my own work, has led me to be able to help and serve others in a much bigger way. And I coach and I speak. I'm a trainer of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is, that language of the mind that creates our reality. And so really combining what lights me up, what my deepest values are, which I know we're going to talk about today, and taking action and creating a life around that is what I get to do. It's what I get to do and how I get to help people.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. And that's how you and I connected.
Yes.
You became one of my transformational coaches years ago. And then, I shifted and moved on to a different coach. You shifted and moved on. And then I showed up at a training and there you were. And I was like, oh,
there I was.
word.
I know we met at Keller Williams, right? I was a transformational coach and I was first getting started with coaching. And then that even took a turn for me. I became a trainer of NLP for the company where I was learning about it. And then, like you said, sure enough, you show up and we get to reconnect and, being on stage and getting to lead people and really teach them these tools. And it was so interesting. People would always ask NLP, this concept, right? Of like the language of the mind that creates our reality. It's just a loaded concept. Yeah. And, psychology and all that good stuff. People would always ask, how long did it take you to learn that? How long? And I was like, any day now.
Yeah, right? Because it is. It's a constant learning.
It is. It really is. And then here we are connected again and have this amazing event coming up. Very excited.
Very excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very excited about the upcoming PowerWomen Retreat where you are going to be our keynote speaker. And we're going to be learning about values from you. So tell us, we hear the word values and what really are our values? And why are they important?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. Values are our deepest level programming or our deepest level of what we hold to a high regard. And there's that, we know that we're 95% of who we are is unconscious. And it's that unconscious programming. And those values are like our deepest level programming. Again, what's deeply important to us. And they really do determine what beliefs we have, our attitudes about the external, about situations. It determines how we feel and even what actions we take. And in the end, obviously what results that we get. And a lot of people actually don't know what they are because they are unconscious. So to be able to go through a process and to learn what yours are, not like what mine are, what yours are, not what somebody else's is. And that's the problem.
Right.
Some people will go and they'll go, ooh, I like her values. I want those. Here's the inherent problem with that is that you start to try and take action in your life and you probably won't fill up to it. And then you go, gosh, she can do it, but I can't. What's wrong with me?
Right.
What's wrong with me? And it's because you're not actually tapped in to what yours are. And our values, by the way, and this is so important, are as unique to every individual as our own fingerprint.
I love
They're
that
yours.
so much. Yeah, they're yours. And that's
They're
so
yours.
cool.
It is. So when you know that and you get to know, because some people will feel very unfulfilled in life. They feel depression can happen, frustration, the sadness. It's an unfulfillment. And when you really discover what your core values are, and then you start to create a life in alignment to that and create goals that are actually more around your values, you're going to find that you'll bring in motivation. You're more likely to achieve what it is that you're setting out there for rather than not getting it. So they are so fun to look at and know.
They
it's
are.
knowing you.
It's knowing you at a deeper level, and it's so empowering. It's a really powerful tool. And so, take us through like how are we then able to utilize our values? Why is it so important to know them?
You can use them in so many different ways. Just to give you an idea, we have different values in, say, our relationships. We have some different relationships in career, with our health, with our spirituality, our growth. So there's kind of like what I call, there's life values, and we have like sub values in the different contexts, right? And so you do want to know your life ones as well, and also maybe a specific area. So let's just take career, for example. Right. So if you know what yours are in your career, couple of reasons why this is so important. Well, one, like I said, you can create goals around that. That's more in alignment because it's not just about making money. Why? What will it do for you? And are you fulfilling? So if you've got like leadership, growth, creativity, some of your top values, then you want to create some goals and take action that it's alignment that will fulfill that. And people want to know, it's, that's just a word. Let's just take leadership or growth. But what does that mean to you in that context? And how is that even fulfilled? Where have you seen it at its best? Where did you learn it from? A lot of our values actually come from our past experiences,
right?
Where we learned them from.
Yeah.
And we make beliefs around it. And so what you can do, like in career, for example, what your mission, company values are, your mission statement can be around that. You can hire to that.
Yes.
If you know what right? All my entrepreneurs.
That is such a catalyst. There it is. Because once you have that clarity on values, making major decisions becomes so much easier. And 100%. Then not only that, it helps with retention. Because you're in alignment, then it helps with culture because everybody's happier because of the alignment. And then in relationships, it gives the clarity of how to move forward again with major life decisions and how to communicate about those. It's so, in my dating life, doing the value alignment that you and I did with relationships, I'm now able to just talk to someone and recognize real quick, this isn't going to work. Number one, value's gone. Bye. And so, it eliminates the time and struggle that we have in life so much.
Absolutely. Just to echo that, I love in relationships because it's a big one that I work on as well. When you're I watch all those dating shows and it's always fast. Because what do people date? They're like, oh, he's cute and he's funny and there's chemistry, like physical. And they're like, okay, let's see how this goes. But there's no dialogue about values. And come on, we've all done that before we knew about this. And you know your values and relationships in this example. And when you, like you said, you start to ask questions. I did it with my fiance. First date. I'm already asking questions like, so what's important to you in a relationship? Oh, cool. Like, how so? Like, oh, what's that look like? And I want to know, did we have similar values? And like you said, if not, I don't want to waste my time. Here's the number one thing that people say to me, the value of knowing their values is decision making.
Yes.
It is a decision making, and you're not what we call that wasting time. You're being more intentional with your time because you know who you are and you get to be more intentional about how you spend your time. Because that's what we have here. That's all we have here on this.
That's all we have.
Time.
Yeah. Time is our largest commodity. And if you don't take the time to get to know and love yourself fully, by knowing your values, how can you move forward?
And how can you expect other people to fulfill them for you if you don't even know what they are?
Exactly. You can't. Exactly.
So you said it. Yeah. So you hire to it, you fire to it, you train around it. It becomes just you. You move through life from your heart center of your values, and you feel fulfilled. There's no question. And it's kind of like, there's always learnings and things, but it is a game changer. And you got to know you. You got to know you. So I'm excited to teach this to people.
I am too, because it's life-changing in every way. And then it's like, whoa, how impactful would it be if we could all know our values and then lead our children accordingly?
Yes. Oh,
that is what is the biggest piece missing in our world right now, according to the Gospel of Claire. And so, I'm just saying. And so, I mean, that to me, that's the biggest domino right here. And so that excites me so much.
So much. I love that you brought it up. I spoke at an event, it was a year ago, and it was with parents with kids. And I had asked, do you know your family values? Not one hand went up.
Right.
Do you know what your in your relationship with each other?
Right.
Have you shared? Not one hand went up.
Yeah.
And I said, we inherently pick up values, and they inherently were probably, taught. You probably picked up some things. But now imagine if you put some intention around it and you're able to lead your children, because children are craving those, the disciplines and the boundaries. They are wanting to learn. And what a great conversation piece in the car, at the dinner table, to give them this sense of, really just give the sense of security and belonging, and that they could be who they are. I agree with you.
Yep.
For everybody who has children, this is absolutely a beautiful conversation that they'll get to bring home and carry that on with their kids.
Yeah. And then think of if we would have had that and been equipped with that at the ages of our children, where would we be now? And what would that have done for our path?
Yeah.
I think of that. Yeah.
I do too. But I
also, my parents.
Love them. They did the best they could, right? But here's where we are.
We're doing the best we can with the resources we have, right?
But this is where we are. We're the path. We're the show. We're paid waivers. We're showing the way. We're the ones that are like, all right, parents, you did the best you could. I'm a big believer, and we walk on the shoulders of the giants who've led the way. And now it's our turn to take that and pass on to the next generations. Truly.
Yeah. I think, and I don't know, I think when you do align with your values, they start to become very evident to others. And one of my main values, and it shows up in business, relationships, parenting, it shows up in every area of my life, is fun. Fun is one of my top values. If it's not fun, shocking to everybody, I'm certain. But if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not. I'm not going to be interested. It will bore me to death. I will not sign up. I will check out. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it.
I love that. And there's a great saying. I heard this from another trainer, that we all have ADD. There's that label that gets thrown around there, but we all have ADD for things that are not our highest values.
Right. Yeah.
True, right? I don't care to hear about, my number one value is learning and teaching. I love to learn things and then teach it. That fills my cup like no other. And I don't like to learn about everything. I don't care about video games. I don't care about rocket ships. I don't care about cars, but the human psychology, all that stuff. So if someone starts talking about that, I'm going to check out.
Sure.
I'm going to check out. People are like, aren't you paying attention? I'm like, no, I only pay attention to things that light me up.
And so
exactly. That's it. That's what values are. It's what lights you up. What gives you that passion?
So many times I hear women, saying, I'm stuck. I'm confused. I don't know my direction. And I think that knowing your values gives you so much clarity of where to move forward.
Absolutely. It's a great starting point. If you've never done it before, gone through the process, you start to look at it, and it's just awesome to go, wow, again,
Yeah.
where did I learn that? Do I
Right.
is that still in alignment for me?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we change. Yeah.
We can absolutely change. We
Yeah.
grow, which means we change. And
Let's
so,
hope.
yeah. Let's
That's the goal.
Yeah. There are some people that are just fine where they are. That's okay.
I know. Yeah. They're not in alignment with my values.
Right.
Right. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and so how else does this, it does get the clarity, like you just, alluded to, of who to surround yourself with.
Yes, that's a big part when you know, and again, you have life that like yours is fun, right? Like that's very much like a life overall theme for you.
Right.
Like I said, there's in a different context, there's a different, what I'll call kind of like a subset. And so even in friendships, for example, let's just say, I just did this values alignment with a client yesterday. We wrapped up, and friendships is like a big life value for him. And underneath that, because I asked him, I'm like, well, what does that mean to you? How does that show up to you?
Yeah.
And reliability. Reliability was one for him. And it was interesting. He said, yeah, when it was came to my wedding, I actually didn't invite a friend. And he said the reason why is because I don't feel like they're very reliable. And he had an aha that was in alignment with his values, that this person had repeatedly, and it's okay to have, it helps you to find boundaries.
Yes.
Because the biggest thing that people have in conflict, right, or frustration is that when people run over our boundaries, or we run over our own boundaries because we don't have the clarity of what they even are.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely allowed to say, hey, that works for me, that doesn't. That's called self-respect. That's called self-care. And that's called self-worth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's also so important. It's like, why does this not feel good? Why there's something here that just feels icky, and you can't put your finger on it. And you don't know exactly where to place that boundary. And then knowing those values and being able to recognize it helps you just say, oh, okay, I can't do that activity with that person, or I can't engage like this with them because this is the value that's out.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be that, this can get this is fun. This is why I go deep into this though. It's not about making the other person bad, right, wrong, good, bad, anything like, nope.
No.
It's just, this is just who I am. There's something so empowering just owning who you are without the people pleasing out of guilt.
Yeah.
That's what I like to bring in, and we'll talk about, is like, this is who you are, and you're 100% allowed to put forth a boundary that is around self-respect. So like you said, like, hey, this person's great, just not for me.
Right.
When you're dating, hey, you're great. Thank you. But no, thank you.
But no, thank you.
But no, thank you. And that's okay too.
It is. It is giving yourself that permission, I think. And so many of us sometimes fear knowing ourselves so well. There's a lot of fear around that of what you're going to uncover. But then it's really beautiful when you do. You get to learn how amazing you are.
You are.
It's such a cool experience. It really is.
It is. And that's what, deep down, I think a lot of people, may have feel alone and they want deeper connections. Well, you've got to have the deeper connection with you. And when you do that deep dive work, it creates more empathy. People in leadership needs more empathetic leaders.
Amen.
Compassion. You will shift even with showing up with kids or people around you. It brings in, there's that great saying, you can only meet people as far as you've met yourself.
Oh, that is so good.
Yes. Yeah. And you got to be willing. That's what's great. I love coaching people when to have someone that can hold the mirror, but can hold a lot of grace with you and look at those dark parts that sometimes we have shame or guilt, or it's an aha moment sometimes of wow, I've been just filling out my mom or dad's values, but it's not really me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's our programming. And so many times we're just going through the motions of the values that we were raised with, and that's why we're not productive in our world, because we're not in alignment with really who we are, and we're not living out our truths.
Absolutely. So again, they're they're fun.
They are
You-
fun.
you-
They are
they're
fun.
fun. They're fun. They're fun.
Yeah.
And they are something that you do go unconscious, like you'll forget. Like I cannot remember all of mine. So it is great when you're first discovering these because there's so many, right? And you just
Yeah.
remember like you remember your top one. I remember my top
Well,
one. I probably remember a couple others.
Fun is not my top one. It just is one that shows up in all my sub areas.
Oh,
and
yes.
it is, so it's one of my top.
Yes.
But to your point, I keep my values in my phone.
Yes.
And so
Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's made it so easy because just like we were saying, when I'm in scenarios or conversations or whatever that just don't feel right. And I get that inner voice or that feeling of, I don't know what it is, but this business venture or this partnership or this date or whatever it may be is not, it doesn't feel good and I can't figure it out. And I'll just go back and reflect and look on the values. And then it just pops out and it's like, oh, it's that one.
That's why.
There she is.
Yes, it is. You absolutely nailed it right there. It is such a great resource to have and reflect for those moments just like that, to go back and going, why is this off? What's going on?
Why is this off? Yeah. Because like servanthood is one of my big values. And then, if I can't align with that with people or they can't align with that with me, when we don't see that in one another in some form, inevitably there's a misalignment at some point.
Yes.
And then creating that boundary in the relationship or have the expectation to know that that's never going to be who they are and meeting them where they are.
I love that you just said that, meeting people where they're at. But you got to know where you're at. And again, that's where a lot of conflict with people is the expectations.
Yeah.
And the expectations come around from our values of what we believe to be true and how we move forward. And so knowing that and knowing what others are, it actually transforms the way you can even communicate to someone. It can, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I do. I know. Yeah, because when you get that clarity, it's like, and then you start to see things in others of, that is a huge value for them.
Yes.
Or though that's not there at all. And then it's, and so then it's like, now I know who to go to.
Yes.
Who's my person for this and who's my person for that. And then you have so much more harmony.
You do. You absolutely do. And I love when you can realize it because you will, when you practice this and know it, your ear becomes attuned to it and you can hear other people's values. And I think that's amazing. I can respect there's a similarity, there was some differences and you learn like, are they my person or not? And I also can learn like knowing like my partners, I can communicate to him in a way that speaks to his values.
Right.
That lights him up. I like to light other people up, right?
Yes.
Yes. So if you know the people who are working for you, if you know your kids and you know what their top values are, you can check in, like you do that 90-day review and you're like, all right, how can we express this? What do we want to set a goal around? Because you want to encourage that growth for them and what lights them up, not the way that you would want it. And I think that's a big difference right there. It's just empowering to know it.
Well, also as a leader, knowing the values of my team members, then I'm able to reward them accordingly.
Absolutely.
And then also you then become more aware of your language or when you have to, do a reprimanding or disciplinary actions or anything like that, it's felt harder when you do it in a value-centered way. And then I also think as a parent, aligning values around with other parents that are very similar or the same, then knowing what parents it helps you with comfort of, I feel better with carpool with that one. Or this one's my go-to for this type of homework or this, it just, you're able to communicate so much better in those spaces when you know that certain values align differently.
Absolutely. And to mention with the kids, because they're still in such that impression phase where they are being influenced by outside. And so if a parent is very aware of who they want to surround themselves, like, ooh, I like their values, I like what they're doing, that's going to influence, your child. Of course, we can't control all that we get that, but you do have some intention that you can put forth with that. So I love that you do that even with the kids and the parents and who they're hanging out with.
We have a lot of conversations. We have a lot of conversations.
A lot. Yes.
I remember when my daughter was a toddler, I would say, is that a good choice? Is that a good choice? Do you want to make that choice? And my mother would say, she's going to grow up and ask you if that's the choice you want to make. And you're going to get sick of that.
You're going to reap what you sow. It's going to come back at you.
And I'll be darned if my 14-year-old son is not just a quick wit and smart as a whip and doesn't give it back to me in spades. And it is amazing.
Yeah, but imagine he's going to be really great in some other positions in business and speaking up for himself. And
he will.
Yeah, he will.
Like that mouth is either going to make you a lot of money or land you in prison. One of the two. I don't know. So Nikki, good. You're amazing as always. You're such a light, and you're full of so much wisdom and so much value to give to others. I can't wait, one, to see you and hug your neck. And two, I can't wait for you to just share all of this with the masses and so many. But thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful to you to have me here and at this event. Like, I really, really appreciate and just honor you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. You're a gem. Thank you, Nikki.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review on iTunes and check out our website, thepowerwomen.org.